the first day of September 2017, which brings us to the first Friday of the final major. We welcome you back, tennis fan, to U.S. Open Morning Drive presented by Mercedes-Benz. Well, the calendar says it's still summer, but it's feeling autumnal with these cool temperatures today. On Thursday, things got heated once again for the seeds as more continued to fall. 7 was unlucky, Dimitrov out, as was 15 Burdick, and on the women's side, 2004 champion Svetlana Kuznetsova was eliminated. But some of the more interesting matches, Madison Keys and Coco Vandeweghe, powered their way into the third round, and Rafael Nadal came back from a set down against Taro Daniel in the night session to advance. But it was an interesting day overall, Todd.
It was great tennis yesterday, Kevin, and I think entering the tournament we were open already, especially on the men's side with so many players not showing up. But I think the interesting story, the most compelling story so far this tournament is Roger Federer. Coming back from a back injury just a couple of weeks ago, 2 5-set matches. Yesterday against Michael Eugenie, wow, he looked great at the beginning and then totally lost the plot for a while and was very fortunate to recover. I'm very curious to see, 1, how he's feeling, and 2, if he can figure out how to get focused and be more decisive through the core of a match. Roger Federer, if you go back through history, the Grand Slam champions, the greats, have breezed through that first week. It's the first time he's ever had to work this hard, this early in a tournament, and it'll be interesting if he can weather the whole tournament. 7 matches of this. Yeah,
it was interesting, but he does have a little note that it is 17, seems to be very important of him lately. He was 17-0 in the first round here at the U.S. Open, took it to 17-0 in the second round, as well as 17-0 against Michael Eugenie now in a year where he's looking for his 20th major title. Well, let's talk about some other matches that are on the slate for this glorious Friday, and we'll begin with a man who has a familiar name, older brother to Sasha Zverev, Misha Zverev. He's had to endure 2 5-set matches already. He'll bring his serve and volley technique up against the 10-seed John Isner.
This is a great matchup. It's 2-all in career head-to-head. Isner won the first 2. Zverev has won the last 2. The last time they played was an epic battle down in Australia. You know, I think Misha Zverev is John Isner's worst nightmare. It's a lefty who can get the ball to his backhand all the time, and it's a guy who's willing to attack him relentlessly. And I think I favor Zverev in this matchup, but with John's serve and also the momentum that he's had throughout the summer, you never know. He's a tenacious competitor in spite of not filling the bill with his size.
You're not kidding about that match down under, by the way. John Isner led 2-0 and held match points, but Zverev was able to come back and produce the victory. Speaking of producing victories, Borna Coric came away with a big win in his opening match. He's got a big test against the big-hitting South African Kevin Anderson.
It's actually a similar matchup that Coric had against Zverev just a couple of days ago. Coric is that guy, right? He's a junior champion here, an amazing talent. I think he's one of those guys that we could see make a huge run here, and I wouldn't be that surprised. I think people in the locker room wouldn't be that surprised, but nobody knows about him in the public eye.
Well, we have 2 young guns that'll be dueling out inside Arthur Ashe Stadium. What a stage for them to take each other on. We're talking about Denis Shapovalov as he takes on Great Britain's Kyle Edmund. Both up and coming, both have big games and can move around the court.
I love this matchup. It's one of those classic big forehand matchups, but it's big forehand lefty versus big forehand righty. Shapovalov, you know, he's got this one-handed backhand that actually did really well against Tsonga, did really well in Canada with it. But Edmund's forehand is so heavy, is so big. I'm curious to see if Shapovalov's backhand can weather that. My pick would be Edmund, especially with Shapovalov coming off of such a big win against Tsonga on Ashe Stadium. I think there is likely a little bit of a letdown.
Yeah, it is difficult to back up those wins. We'll see how the Canadian fares. Remember, he had to come through qualifying just to get in the main draw as well. So now on the women's side, we turn our attention towards Petra Kvitova. We know about the assault in her home back in December of last year that left her scarred literally as held at knife point. She also suffered a significant injury to her left hand, but she's come back roaring once again and starting to feel comfortable on court. The U.S. Open's the only major she hasn't reached at least the semifinals in, though a quarterfinalist here 2 years ago. She's starting to show that form that earned her 2 Wimbledon titles. Today, Caroline Garcia, quarterfinalist last year, is going to try to upend that progress.
Well, it's an amazing story for Kvitova. She still doesn't have some feeling in a couple of her fingers. She's only played 16 matches this year. She's got that weight of shot. Every shot she hits penetrates through the court, and I would encourage her to play and trust that weight of shot. Garcia is a wonderful player, but I would look at Kvitova as one of those women who's got a run in her here at the U.S. Open, and I would totally discard the fact that she has historically not played well here. It's a different year. She's got different inspiration, and I think if you look at the women's field, she's really, other than Muguruza, is probably the most dangerous competitor out there.
Well, you mentioned Garbiñe Muguruza, and coming into this tournament, the U.S. Open, there were 8 women with a shot to be #1 at its conclusion, including today's U.S. Open program cover girl. So the Spaniard now trying to progress further than she ever has at the U.S. Open. She'll take on Magdalena Rybarikova, and she's starting to feel her game here on these hard courts.
Well, Muguruza is awesome. I mean, years ago, she beat Serena at the French 2-2 and made her look silly. It took a couple years to get that first Grand Slam under the belt at the 16 French Open, and then she sort of went into a bit of a spell where I don't know if she had confidence, she felt too much pressure or what, but the sequence of losing early in Paris and then winning Wimbledon, I think probably stabilizes her, gives her a ton of confidence, and it looks like she's getting much more comfortable handling the pressure of being a world leader in this sport. I said it already, I think she's the best. I mean, she's the most talented, she's decisive off of both sides, and when she's sharp, she competes really well. I love her chances in this match and then moving forward.
Garbiñe backed up that terrific run at Wimbledon by winning Cincinnati. She's 18 of her last 20 with victories. And by the way, of those 8 women, 3 already out of the running for #1, Konta, Kuznetsova, and Wozniacki. And a win by Muguruza today also knocks out Halep and Venus Williams. So that's going to do it for our U.S. Open Morning Drive presented by Mercedes-Benz. Todd, TGIF, it's Friday. We'll see you again tomorrow.